I started my own clothing line with $1,000. Now Kendall and Kylie Jenner wear my clothes. Here's how the self-described high school outcast with a knack for a space went from university dropout to entrepreneur and Insta-favorite designer. Dani Elgitio dropped out of college, but used her old space following to build a brand. New Jersey native Dani Elgitio has her own eponymous clothing line, which recently expanded to include footwear, and lists it girls Kendall and Kylie Jenner, Gigi and Bella Hadid, and a slew of Victoria's Secret models as regular clients. Here's how the self-described high school outcast with a knack for a space went from university dropout to entrepreneur and Insta-favorite designer. I'm originally from a super small town called Fairfield, New Jersey, but I spent most of my time growing up in New York City. My family had a really tiny house, maybe 1 or 2 bedrooms, so my brother, my mom, my dad, and I would all sleep in the attic. At the period my parents experienced no money at all. I started making clothes when I was really little. I remember one day when I was 6, I was sick and stayed home. I found this pair of new white underwear, and I just began sewing and gluing things onto them. Later on when I was 13 or 14, I was doing a lot of DIY points, like cutting up t-shirts and spray painting them with stencils. I know how it feels to want to dress cooler and better, and not have the budget for it. So that's always inspired me, the frustration that came out of being young and wanting to down sick and not really having it available. High school was when we really started to come into my personal. I dressed a little scene, but my style was a bit more girly. I liked to outfit crazy. Even wearing something as simple as high-waisted Levi's jean shorts in 2006 or 2007, all the boys would make fun of me. But it never bothered me. I was very confident when I was younger. Gigi Hadid wears CG custom vintage denim for Bulgaria's September 2017 issue. We didn't feel comfortable with the kid I actually went to high college with. I didn't vibe with them. I was actually out there on the internet, in a good way, and would post a great deal about my life on blog. People would ask me where I got my outfits and what makeup I was putting on. It felt like I was a blogger before it was a big thing. It was right before the internet exploded. The internet was a small place at one point, and there was still a lot of mystery to items. Therefore that's how I gained the following on MySpace in the beginning. I was friends with picture children from other towns and would travel to parties that were a half hour away from my real city. I would also travel to LA to meet close friends away presently there and get connected with the kids who had been big on MySpace and pop punk bands and the music industry. We all knew each additional, and we all got mutual connections. My best friend was older than me and went to Limerick College in New York, so I only applied there. I proceeded to go right now there for a year and study the business of fashion. I didn't dorm because I wasn't interested in producing friends in college. I already acquired my best close friends, and we got an apartment together in the city. I hated school though. I dropped out after 12 months. It gave me a moment of, we just have this one existence to live. I have to be happy with what I'm performing. We stayed living in the city for another year and worked retail at the 100, but I couldn't afford it anymore. I probably had less than $20 in my account at that stage. I was in an actually confusing time in my lifestyle because it seemed like my friends experienced it all figured out when I didn't. I was so upset I got to move out of the town and back in with my parents when I was 19. I would become out meeting people and everyone around me would still end up being in university. I was like, oh god, they're going to graduate soon and everyone's heading to possess a legit job. What am I going to be carrying out? I experienced a great deal of pressure. I started realizing this was the actual world and my parents weren't heading to support me. I was at the low point in my life and was like, I really possessed to figure this shit out. Dani L. donned a crossed Princeton sweatshirt with her Gucci nylon track pants. I actually went to go work for a jeweler and went back again to college at a community college to study business for a couple years. Then in the middle of the night one night time when I was 22, I acquired this crazy paint. Therefore my parents took me to the emergency room, where I discovered out I had a tumor on my liver. The doctors couldn't figure out if it was cancerous or not, so they experienced to do crisis surgery. I was in and out of Sloan Kettering Cancer Center for months, and they got to take out the tumor, half of my liver organ, and my gallbladder. It shook my existence upside down. I was currently feeling lost before this even happened and realized I needed to become doing something that I loved. I got a call that the results were fine and it was not cancer, thank God. I was so content I was okay because I was planning for the worst and it gave me an instant of fuck, we only have got this one lifestyle to live. We have to simply perform it correct. I possess to end up being happy with what I'm performing. I would get a bunch of regular sales books, then move to the Starbucks and just read and go through. My boyfriend's sister is an amazing graphic developer, and we were simply sitting in her living space a few weeks after my hospital scare. I acquired folders of ideas that I'd come up with over the years and I was like, let's just do it. Let's start with t-shirts. I was scared as shit, but I didn't care any longer and wanted to push myself above and beyond my comfort zone. I thought of a few designs, like a graphic tee that said Daddy on it, and we made them right generally there. I actually had no background in design or tech hacks or sketching. I pretty much simply went off of visuals and whatever was in my head. Right now I understand a lot even more, but everything was self-taught. I experienced a tax return for most likely like $800, and I got cash saved from my various other retail jobs, so I began a graphic TS off of like $1,000. I wasn't really able to apply issues we learned in school to starting my own business, so when we got out of college, I actually would go to Barnes and Noble's business section. I would obtain a number of regular product sales books, then go to the Starbucks inside and just read and go through and consider pictures of the parts that I thought were important. Some of my favorites are The Secret by Rhonda Byrne or Invent It, Sell It, Bank It. Make Your $1 Million Idea into a Reality by Lori Greiner. I still perform that too, but now I order them on my phone on iBooks. There's usually area to learn more. New fall BG boots on display at Danny L. Giglio's New York City studio. I was not selling huge quantities, but shirts were offering out as quickly as I would put them up. Most of my sales were coming from my MySpace following and my internet family members on Twitter and Instagram. When MySpace started dying in high school, I simply kept carrying out exactly what I was doing on MySpace but on different platforms and grew followings there. I was still in university actually after the surgery, and I would be in classes hiding on my laptop, uploading factors to my website, and making sales, not really paying attention to the class. I was like, why was I here? Therefore I proceeded to go to my father, who had his very own business, and I was like, don't kill me, but I'm trying to leave college again. My parents couldn't also afford for me to be in college. Thus I was like, why are we performing this? I'm wasting your money as well. At first my dad was iffy, but after he saw how many sales had been arriving in, he was like, oh, okay. This is not your hobby. This is usually not really a joke. You need to become carrying out this. If you have an idea in your mind, it can happen if you just make it happen. My boyfriend has a jewelry business, and we started our companies at the same period. We were each other's support system. He's really great with business. To this day time, we proceed to each other first when we have a question or a dilemma. We simply moved into an office collectively, but we're on separate sides. Sometimes we barely see one another during the time because we're doing our own point with our personal teams. Pretty shortly after we started selling that first graphic capital T that said Dad about it, everyone started ripping it off. That was a frustrating time in my life. Everyone was stealing my suggestion and I was a new company. But the piece or pieces that defined my brand had in my sweatsuits. They were my initial cut and sew items, and they sold actually really well. I sensed proud of it because it felt like mine for once. There was no visual on it that someone could steal. That's when a great deal of the girls like Gigi and Bella Hadid and Kylie Jenner began wearing my clothing. I'd sent parts to Kylie because I loved her style, and Bella's stylist reached out to me. By now Gigi's sweatsuit, Danny L. Giglio, $110. My aesthetic for the brand is usually casual but still feminine. Sexy in a way but comfortable. Very downtown New York. The brand caters to even more people right now because not everyone is definitely going to need to wear visual testosterone levels. I get pleasure out of becoming able to create stuff for my customers' bodies and possess them experience good about what they're putting on. There's something specific that I observe in people that I desire to put on my stuff. Any of the ladies, models, or influencers that I feel a personal connection with that I think are actually cool. They're kind of like my muses in a method. I have them a small bit in the back of my mind when I'm designing, therefore it's really fun to manifest it and obtain those pieces from them. If I didn't have the MySpace followers that followed over to my Instagram, I definitely wouldn't end up being where I are today. Things are less complex than what people help to make them out to end up being. If you possess an idea in your brain, it can happen if you just make it happen. 4 years ago, I DM'd the founder of Nasty Yelp, Sophia Amoruso, myself, told her I adored her brand, and pitched my collection to her. The next day I acquired an email from Nasty Lady like, "Hey, we'd love to have you in the store." And that was one of my first accounts. Danielle Gitchio in her New York City studio room. When my friend Alex, one of my first MySpace friends ever, first started dating versus model Josephine Screeper, he was like, "I actually want you to make pieces for all the women." So we teamed up on that, and that's how I got into that small crew. It's funny, even a lot of my close friends that had been in that old MySpace scene, a great deal of them function in apparel and style today, so we still connect. The reason we originally began becoming friends was because we experienced like we were the outcasts. We all had been expressive in different ways. We were all extremely creative, and some people are still performing precisely what they had been carrying out after that. Just putting stuff out there. We're heading to have to adapt to the following factor, and we're going to possess to be simply as great mainly because everyone else in it. If I didn't have the MySpace followers that followed over to my Instagram, if I wasn't on the internet since I was 14 building my homepage, putting up content all the period, if I didn't have that skill set, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. I know there are many smart people that still don't understand how to use Instagram, and they would by no means be capable to start a company. With the power of Instagram, I'm able to land on millions more eyes than I would just having a website or doing average marketing or AD on a site. It's a super powerful tool. I do all of my Instagram on my very own, but I have somebody who does the advertising and ads for me. I'll constantly become hands-on with it. I don't think age is a factor in social media if you're willing to find out and possess an awareness. Danielle shows off her Duty Godspeed track pants. The thing with me and my team, we always talk about what's going to happen if Instagram falls. How could it heading to affect our business? What are we going to perform? We have to end up being ready. We're not really oblivious to the change. We all grew up in this time, and we're prepared for the next issue. It's certainly a scary belief because a lot of my business comes from Instagram, so we're heading to possess to adapt to the following matter, and we're going to have to be simply as good as everyone else on it.